Greetings folks. In this tutorial we're going to see some plotting strategies using seaborn and Matplotlib libraries. So at first we are just importing our necessary libraries, and notice here we are using Matplotlib notebook instead of Matplotlib inline to have some interactive plotting. Okay, now we are going to input our data, read our data. So this is our data, and you don't have to worry about that data. It is actually SNS embedded dataset, and I guess you need just internet connection for the first time. Okay, as you can see here, this is actually a total bill tip dataset, so you can make it div. Okay, so depending upon sex, we are going to see how tip varies, or total bill, how tip varies. Smoker, yes or no, day, time, dinner time, or lunch time. Okay, so now we are going to start off by just um, doing a scatter plot. So to make a scatter plot, you just have to do plt dot, and here plt is from Matplotlib. Plt dot scatter, and what parameters this method takes you can know by just holding shift and press tab. Now you can see that it takes x, y, and many other parameters. So our x is, let's say our x is just this tip amount, and our y is total bill. Okay, total bill. Let's see how it turns out. Oh, and you have to save the dataset name. So data is df. Okay, now you can see our plot, our first plot, and if you want to change the plot structure, you can do it. Okay, fine. Now you can also see the values for this point from this right below corner, and you can also zoom it now. Okay, fine. Now you're going to do some other stuff. You can change the color. By default color is C equal, let's say you want it in green. Now it's green. You can change the size of those data points is equal, let's say 15. It's now a bit small, and if we do 50, a bit large. Okay, now what? Now you can make another plot, another scatter plot within this plot. So Control C, Control V. So let's say our Y is now size, and everything else is okay. And we want color as red, size don't need, by default is okay, and we want our marker as plus sign. Okay, now you can see size and total bill are now plotted against our tip amount. So now you can see tip higher tip amount is not that frequent, lower tip amount is frequent. Okay, and when the total bill is high, it seems like tip is high compared to low total bill. Now, how can we know that green color is total bill and red color means here size? So to do that, you can write here label equal what? Total bill. So just total bill, and in this case it's just size. So no legend appeared here. So to make, so you have to do plt dot legend, not label, plt dot legend, and then now you can see our plus sign is bill, sorry, size, and those green data points are bill, total bill. Okay, now you can also write the title of your legend. Title equal, let's say, scatter plot. Or just legend. Okay, so you can also pass those legends here. Let's, we are just removing those legends. Okay, okay, so to do that you have to pass list of names. So our first legend was what? First legend was total bill. Total bill, and our second legend was size. Okay, now see, oh comma, now you can see the same thing I can do. Now if you want to write x level, y level, so plt dot x level, that is our x-axis level. So you can say, what was that? Tip. And our y level, plt dot y level is what? Bill and size. Now you can see here x-axis tip, y-axis bill and size, and you can change the font size of x level, y level by just font size equal, let's say, 14 x level. So now you can see it's now a bit big. Okay, the same plot you can do create by SNS. So SNS dot what? SNS dot, for creating scatter plot you have to do lm plot, and similarly our x tip and paste it here. Now you can see have our total bill tip and by default this regression line, and you can undo it by just pressing dot. What was that actually? It's a fit reg. By default this fit reg is true, so you have to write just it's false. Now you can see no line here. So okay, that's just about our scatter plot. Now we are going to say histogram or distribution plot. So let's say df dot tip on tip column, df dot tip dot plot. It is actually our pandas plot, and we have bunch of kind. By default kind is line plot. We are going to see now histogram, so hist, and we are making plot, so we need to write here plt dot figure before making any new plot. Okay, so let's see. Now you can see our frequency plot or distribution plot. You can see tip size, that is 2 to maybe $3 is most frequent. The frequency is high, 80, and it is a bit right skewed, which is in this case not good, not bad, it's good. Okay, so this is our histogram. Now we can make the same thing using SNS dot distribution plot, dist plot, and here our data is, let's say, df dot tip. Oh, plt dot. Fine. This kernel density, we can just write here dot kde equal false, but it's not actually so bad. It tells us your distribution is positively skewed. That's it. And we have one top, so it is unimodal distribution. So if we say false, then it's more or less like our previous one. So okay, now let's say you want to plot what, how about sex, male female count, how many of those, how many of them are male or female, so how do we plot them? You can do that like in df dot sex dot value counts. Let's see, okay, so this value counts gives us the count. So male is 157, female 87. You can also plot it dot plot kind equal bar plot. Oh shit, just again plt dot figure. Actually I'm used to in Matplotlib inline, that's why. Now you can see we have the plot for male and female count. The same thing you can do using SNS. You don't have to use that value counts method, just SNS dot count plot and our data tips dot sex. again plt dot. Okay, now you can see that our male customers are nearly double than female customers. Okay, so let's do something new. Let's say I want to plot group our data by time and day. I want to see mean tip size depending upon time of dinner or lunch and day. So let's do that. df dot group by, and group by a list of names, that is time and what another thing, time and day. Okay, and we want our output on tip column dot mean. Okay, you can see some names also. Now before plotting, plt dot figure dot mean dot plot, and our kind is bar plot. Okay, now you can see, oh, I need to rotate those ticks x levels, so plt dot x ticks and rotation equals 0 degree. Now you can see, yep, during Sunday was highest. In Sunday, tip amount was highest, and during dinner time. These are actually mean values. We can also see the standard deviation. So to do that, you have to do what? Aggregate mean and standard deviation. Okay, now plot it. Rotation 10 degree. Now you can see the data with standard deviation. During Saturday, standard deviation was comparatively high. Now you can change this plot a bit. Like what if you pass a parameter stacked equal true, then it will be plotted this way. Okay, again, if you just write this bar to bar h, then it will be just horizontally plotted. Okay, alright, so now we are going to see how to make box plot. So we are going to use seaborn, so sns dot box plot and our column name. Okay, fine. Now let's see our box plot. This is our box plot. So seaborn has its own algorithm for detecting outliers. These are known as outliers according to SNS box plot. And this midline here represents the median of this data. That is 50% of our data is below this line, and 50% of our data lies above this line. Okay, and this whisker means, this lowest point means minimum value of our data, and this is actually maximum value of our data. Okay, so this line here, it's 25th percentile, and this is 75th percentile, I guess. Okay, let's see one fascinating plotting system by SNS. And so far I think it's the most beautiful SNS plotting system. So we are going to just plot our previous one, scatter plot by SNS. Let's see that first. This is just a scatter plot and tip by total bill. Now you can assign one another parameter, that is hue. So we are now going to pass 6. Let's see how it returns. Now you can see male and female are now different colored. Okay, but it's not the end. You can pass more thing like column, and column can, let's what, time of dinner or lunch. Okay, you can now see time also. Okay, now you can pass another thing. It's row. So row, what else? Time, day. Which day it was? Row day. Okay. Now you can see we have different columns for our time, dinner, lunch, and we have rows also for what time. Is it days or Friday or Saturday? Now you can see those things. It seems like in Saturday and dinner time tip bill was high, and Saturday lunchtime, missing values, I think. No, missing, not missing. We don't have data for that day, I think. Yep. Now we are going to see the most interesting part of our plotting. Now we are going to see subplot. So to make subplot, we are going to use plt dot subplot. Okay, so here I am going to pass, let's say I want one column and two rows and one last one. This is actually our one, means here our current axis is this one. Okay, so now you can see one figure here, but now if you make another subplot 1 to 2. Now this is our current axis. You will see two subplots. Okay, now you can plot anything you want, like previously plt dot scatter. Now I'm just going to sns dot dist plot. Okay, df dot tip, and here I'm going to use just sns dot dist plot df dot total bill. Okay, now you can see here this is our tip, this is our total bill. So both of them are one beside another actually. Now you can also make like one below another. So now we are going, so here one means axis. So this is our current axis for this plot. Our current axis, if you are going to plot something below this subplot, that will be in this plot, and after making another subplot, what you will put below that subplot will be plotted under that subplot. Okay, now we are going to see another way of making subplot. What is we do is, normally you can see, I think, in web pages, figure.ax equal plt dot subplots, maybe something like that. Okay, now if you pass here just what I want one row but two columns. So now we have two axes, so axis 1 and axis 2, and embed them within a bracket. See, the same thing we have done above. And now if we are going to plot our same thing, like so Control V, and just here you have to pass one another thing, parameter ax equal ax1. Okay, now just one plot here, another is empty. So if you just write here ax equal x2, that is our axis, current axis is axis 2. So now this one, and you can write both of them, plot both of them, total bill. That's it. So that's how we make what this subplot. And here your set x level, y level is a bit different. And in the above format, in using Matplotlib, we used plt.x level, but now we have to use ax1 for x1 actually. For axis 1, our title is going to be x dot set x level. Okay, now what you want to say, right? Our x1 is total bill. X level always same, so we're just going to write y level. Y level is here total bill, and similarly for the second plot you have to write here x2. Now you can see total bill. I didn't change it. X2 is it's just a distribution plot, so whatever you can write. So it's changed. And if you want to write title, so just ax1 dot set title. That's it. Now we are going to see something more about it. We are going to use another data, and this is actually a time series data. You can see a date, rainfall, depth to water, that is our groundwater, depth, temperature. So temperature variation with time, groundwater variation with time. This is just about it. And we have converted our date time data column to pandas date time format. Okay, just parsed it. Now we want to plot it. We want to plot all the columns against date. We want to see by date how they are changing. Alright, so we are now going to make 7 subplots because we have a total of 7 columns except that date column. So, and from now on we are going to use Matplotlib inline. Okay, so here number of rows 7, columns just 1, and figure size. Okay, and you can also increase the figure resolution by just .dpi equal by default it's maybe 50, or I don't know, you can set it to 300 or something. We'll see that later. Okay, so we are just making 7 plot, and now we are going to write a for loop for I comma column in enumerate what df dot columns. columns. So if you just print that I and column, then you'll see I is just a column number, just 1 2 3 0 1 2 3, and column is just column name. So let's see that. So now you can see date 1, and what is this 1 for I dot column, in my div dot columns, and we have 7 subplots. Okay, so we don't want to print it, just comment it out. Okay, so now SNS dot line plot, that's a line plot, and we don't want to plot that date, we would want our date as our x-axis, so we need to drop it. So df dot drop date, date x equal 1 dot columns. So df dot drop dot columns, sns dot line plot, our x equal df date, date, and our y equal what? Y equal df and y column, just those column names one by one. So x equal date, y equal df dot column, and now we have to pass that x is equal ax of I. Okay, I think everything is fine. You can also change the color by default color. Now let's plot it, run it. Let's see how it turns out. Yep, I think it worked. Yes, it worked. So our x-axis is date, y-axis temperature, depth 2. Okay, now you can see depth to water. It's somewhat cyclic. High, then low, again high, again low, again high, but this time not very much low. Okay, and temperature with time, low to high, again low, cyclic. Okay, and if you now would like to change title, write title, or change the what levels, you can do that by just axi dot set x level or y level, by that way. Okay, now this data is from maybe 2009 to 2020, 2020, 2006 to 2020. Say for example you want just your data from 2018 to 2019, 20. So for that you have to do x of I for all columns. That's why for all columns dot set x limit. So just we are giving them limit, time limit, and for that you have to import this date from datetime module. Okay, and here we are going to say maybe in a square bracket date, then in parentheses you want it from what, when, from 2018, 1 month, date 1, then comma again, I think a date 2020 second month, just and let's see how it returns. It's taking some time. Okay, now you can see it's just from 2018 to 2020. All of the plots are from in between that time range. Now you can make also a box plot. So to do box plot, you have to write here dot dt, that dt dot er, because box plot is going to calculate our yearly average. So here line plot will be just bux plot, box plot, everything is same. And if your date column is index, if you make that your index, then you don't have to write that dot dt accessor. It's somewhat like you are accessing strings, so for that we use str accessor, and here we use dot dt accessor. Okay, now let's see that. Oh, there's another box plot dt dot, yeah. Oh, say, now you can see that. Now it's, I think, a bit more clear from yearly basis, this trend. And to see the trend, you can resample your date, resample a rolling mean. Temperature is like in a steady state. In 2020, it was a bit low for those regions. Okay, now we're going to see that resample technique. And now we're going to use in notebook again. So here we're going to select just two columns from our data frame. One is date, another is date to groundwater, and resampling it by week. And on is on which column you are resampling, because all of those columns are not your date column, date time. So this just this one. Then mean and plot. Okay. Now you can see the plot, but if you do the daily basis, then it's a bit more noisy. And you can zoom it because it's actually an interactive plotting system. This is actually missing value here, and you can see the values for those areas, like here y is minus 29, that is groundwater depth is 29 meter from surface zone, and the time April, mid-April. Okay, so but if you make it yearly, it will be more smooth. See, smooth. But if we converted our date column to our index, we didn't have to do those things like on date or write df.date. It would be much simpler than that. And similarly, as we did before, you can set the x limit. So we are not using that those x's, that's why just Matplotlib using, that's why plt.x limit for those 2012 to 2020. Okay, so now we are going to see just our last plotting strategy. So here again we are loading our previous dataset tip, and we want to plot x is our tip, y is our total bill, as we did before, but it's a bit different. And here we are using Matplotlib inline, not notebook, because when you are using making a big plot, then Matplotlib notebook is a bit problematic. Okay, now you can see this trend line, but not just this trend line. We have those p-value and regression coefficient in our plot data points. So how do we do that? For that, you have to import scipy.stats. And scipy stats has that linear regress function. So you're just passing linear regress our two data x and y, and it will return us a slope, intercept, Pearson coefficient, p-value, and what is this? STD or standard error maybe. Okay, so plt.subplot figure size 10 by 6 dpi 150, but if you just give it as by default, this graph is not very clear. But if you increase the resolution just dpi 150, it looks good than the previous one. Okay, so our first plot is plot x comma y, just how we plot a scatter plot. And the line width, it's not important, mark label data points. Our second plot is for this line actually. This is, so x is x, okay fine, and y, for this line y is mx plus c. So this is our x and this is our slope m. M is from this SciPy library. We unpacked that slope. Okay, here slope and intercept from this intercept. So mx plus c. This is our c intercept. And level is this level line. Where is this line? Line. We are just imprinting our p-value and r value. Okay, so legend white. Okay, everything fine. Now, if you want to write some text on this plot, you can do it. Let's say you want to write something in this zone. X is 8, Y is 15 here. So to do that, what you have to do is ax dot text, and here x is 8, y is 15. That position you want to write something. Okay, and let's say you want to write this thing station 3 or whatever you want, maybe x, y, z, and font size 12. Now let's see. Now you can see here this is x, y, z, and you can do many more things with that. You can draw some other line, some many more things actually. So that's it. That's all about this plotting tutorial, but there's many more. Even you can plot two or three plots in just one single plot. Okay, so I think you find this video helpful and you learned something new. If you find this video helpful, then please subscribe. Okay, I will see you, I hope, in my next video. Thank you.